Welcome to the In Love with Pmdd podcast. I am your host, Dr. Rose, your Pmdd relationship psychotraumatologist, and I help you stop the monthly Pmdd breakups. Pmdd is premenstrual dysphoric disorder. It is in approximately 1 in 5 women, and it makes you want to break up with your partner approximately 1 to 2 weeks before your period every single month. So as someone who has suffered with Pmdd for over 18 years, I dedicated my doctorate practice to helping partners navigate those monthly Pmdd breakups with everything from attachment styles, triggers, sensitivity to noise, sensitivity to touch, all of the things that you really struggle with when you're in Pmdd. And I also dedicated my dissertation to a phenomenological study of the relationship experiences of partners of individuals who suffer with premenstrual dysphoric disorder. So I'm not just here to help the sufferer, the one who is suffering with Pmdd. I am here for the partners as well. So if you need those private sessions, make sure you go to inlovewithpmdd.com and get those tools. So let's get into this week's Pmdd trauma transformational tools that is going to help you stop the monthly breakups and stop the suffering and stress in your Pmdd relationship. Let's get into it.
Today on the In Love with Pmdd podcast, I will be doing a trigger warning. We will be talking about Pmdd partners and suicide. A day and a half ago, I got news of Twitch from the Ellen Show committing suicide, and it is completely taken over social media. Not to mention, there are so many instances that suicide has been swirling around my world that I feel compelled to talk about it today. And I want to be very sensitive to the community because I went live yesterday on Instagram, and I never go live. But I went live yesterday when I first got the news because I just wanted the focus while we were all talking about suicide to check in on our Pmdd partners. Because it really made me have this flashback to when my partner had suicidal ideation because he was dealing with coping with me being deep into Pmdd, one of the worst Pmdds that I've ever had out of all my months. And I'll get into that a little bit in the episode, but I want to just let you know that is going to be the focus of this episode. If you are feeling triggered, I want to give the warning right now because we're going to go deep. When I saw the news, I'm going to start with Twitch boss, and I saw the videos of him with his family, and he was dancing, and he passed away by the means of suicide only at the age of 40. I saw him dancing with his family. They look so happy. And a lot of times when you get into this mindset of like, you know, oh, this person committed suicide, you're thinking of this person that has been looking super depressed all along, or they've shown some kind of signs. And in this case, nobody saw it coming. I'm pretty sure maybe his close family may have known that there was something going on with him, but he literally, days before, he was posting dancing videos. And I love dancing. That's one of my loves. That's one of when I'm in my follicular days, I tend to dance a lot. You know, it's all about what brings you joy when you're in your follicular days. I believe that's the core of who you are. So he was actually on So You Think You Can Dance. And I used to love that show, along with like Dancing with the Stars as well. And I remember looking at people dance because I would be in Pmdd wanting to feel good. And sometimes I would look at dancing videos, you know, people that are just dancing, you know, how you may look at memes or you may try to look at funny things when you're deep in Pmdd because you're not feeling good and you're feeling horrible, maybe depressed, and you want to feel good. So you look at something funny. I used to look at dancing. That was my thing. Dancing, ice skating, gymnastics, anything about moving your body, and just it looks like there's so much joy in it. it drew me to that. And so when I saw him, the last video that he made on his Instagram, he was dancing with his wife of 9 years. They had just celebrated their 9-year anniversary days before, and they were dancing together, and they looked so happy and joyful and in sync and in love. And it really reminded me of what people portray that your relationship can be like when we post things on social media. I noticed a lot of times earlier in my journey, I used to primarily post things when I was in my follicular phase, when I was in my good days, because things with my partner would be amazing. And I always posted and everyone would think that we're great. And I remember some of the times, by the time people would see my photo or comments on it, we were deep in PMDD and we were in fights and we were in rage and we were dealing with all of this ugliness that is associated with being a PMDD partner when you don't have the tools. That's where we were, and no one knew. If anyone would have told, anyone else that me and my partner were not the perfect couple, that we were not completely happy, that we were not so in love, no one will believe it. And a lot of the times, the deep, dark moments that I've had when I've been in PMDD, specifically in PMDD rage or in my avoidance stage, that's when the most damage has been done. But I used to always think and feel some kind of shame around it, like no one would ever believe this, like if they heard what really was going on with us, because it was so the opposite of what we were portraying on social media. I mean, nobody goes on social media when they get in an argument with their partner and show a picture of them fighting or show a picture of them arguing. And I really believe it's creating this false facade of what relationships are supposed to be like, because it's not all butterflies and rainbows, but yet we're only posting things in our good days. We're not talking about our struggles. We're not letting other people know that they're not alone. Like, we have struggles too. Like, we fight, we argue, we disagree. We're not on the same page. We're not connected. Those things happen on some days. And I think when we only see the good part on social media, then it's really hard to know when a couple is struggling. And what that means is it's really hard to know when we should support them. And I'm pretty sure, according to the reports with Twitch, he was literally at home and went to a hotel less than a mile away with a gun and pulled the trigger and killed himself. And the wife literally noticed that he was gone, didn't see that he had took his card, so didn't know where he was, went to the police station, and that's when they, searched the hotels and they found him. And I bet that was the last thing on her mind. And it really brought me into a point of really checking in with our partner. I know when I get into PMDD, it's so hard for me to deeply care, to deeply be concerned about the feelings, the emotions of my PMDD partner, because I'm going through so much myself. So I'm kind of like, hey, I'm the one with the PMDD symptoms. Like, you need to keep it together, but that doesn't work. And I recognize that doesn't work. And I've had to step it up when I'm using my tools and do a lot of things when I'm in PMDD that I don't want to do. I've had to do a lot of things that I don't want to do, but I believe that they've literally been the things that have saved my relationship. Meaning I am using my PMDD trauma transformational tools, but I do not always feel like using them. A lot of times I don't feel like using them. I feel like being exactly how I feel in the moment, whether it's bitter, whether it's angry, whether it's resentful, whether it's leaning into those intrusive thoughts. I feel like acting on that because it's so easy. It's so natural. It's like, this is how I'm feeling. This is how I'm going to act towards my partner. But when I used to do that, I caused my partner so much suffering. And I want to share with you a story about my PMDD partner in suicide. I've talked about this instance of my PMDD rage a little bit more, but I've never talked about specifically how it ended, how bad it got. And it was the time that me and my PMDD partner went to the lake house. It was actually a year ago. So yeah, it was about a year ago. My PMDD partner was graduating, and so I went and got a lake house. I knew I was going to be in PMDD, so I tried to set everything up so that he would be comfortable, he would be preoccupied, because I had no intention of giving him any attention, because I knew that when I got into PMDD, I was very avoidant. So I'm like, listen, he likes to fish. It's the summertime. I'm gonna have him go to, we're all going to the lake house. It was me, my PMDD partner, my daughter, my dog. And I'm gonna have him be there so he can go fishing. And I was gonna be there just, working on my business, just being really internal. And then my daughter, of course, she could entertain herself. There was like games all over the place and, computers and stuff like that. So I thought that I was doing the right thing. And we get to the lake house and my partner is really wanting to connect. I mean, really, like, what are we going to do? What are we going to do today? Like, everything was we. And I was just like, no, like, I'm like, you can go out fishing or anything outdoors. I'm going to be inside. I just wanted to be inside. I didn't want to be social. And it wasn't a matter of being social. I just didn't want to be connecting with anyone because I was internalizing my symptoms, which were horrible at the time. And I just wanted to isolate. And it was so painful for my partner to deal with my isolation in person. So being that we're long distance, when I used to isolate, it used to just be a matter of we don't talk as much on the phone, but it's something different about being in a room with someone and they're wanting to, and they have that avoidant attachment and they're wanting to isolate and you're wanting to connect. There's something about how it feels to feel that your partner doesn't want to be around you. And my partner is very intuitive. He's an empath. So like anything that I'm feeling, he can feel in the moment, and everything's really magnified. And so I don't believe he was prepared for dealing with the amount of avoidance that I used to have when I was in PMDD. It's different from hearing about it over the phone or like, someone saying, hey, I don't want to talk right now, versus I'm trying to put myself out there and connect with you, and you're genuinely telling me no. It was like blatant rejection. And so my partner kept doing all of these things like, oh, he's like, I'm going to the lake to go fishing. Come with me. I'm going to do this on the kayak. Come with me. Everything was come with me. And I was like, no, that's okay. I'm just going to be in here. And I think the first couple of times he kind of was like, okay. And he tried to do things alone, but he would come back in the house and he would kind of look at me in my little corner. I had like a whole setup. You should have seen it. It was like me, my computer, my books, my journals, my headphones. Like I was in it to win it, to like be on my own in my own little vortex, my own little PMDD vortex. And he kind of looked, and when he looked at me, I remember seeing him look at me and kind of squinting with like a sense of resentment. But it was almost like even though he was so mad about what I was doing, I didn't have the energy to do anything different. So I just allowed him to be mad at the fact that I was isolating. And so it came to the day of his graduation. Went to his graduation. Again, I still wasn't emotionally connected, but I was thinking I was doing the right thing. I'm like, listen, I'm showing up for him. I'm doing the right thing. We bought all the things. I was present. But I could tell that he wasn't satisfied with the amount of connection that we had, because he was smiling, but you can tell when your partner's smiling or they're acting a certain way and the joy is not really there. Like I know what it looks like when my partner is genuinely happy and fulfilled. And I knew that wasn't it, but I was in PMDD. So I also knew like, well, I don't know what to tell you. So we got finished. And my daughter, she's in puberty. She's 13 right now. She was 12 at the time, but she feeds off of my energy. So if I wasn't really into him, she wasn't really into him. So not only was he not getting the attention of from me. He wasn't getting it from our daughter. And then he also wasn't getting it from our dog, because our dog pretty much follows me around. So we went to lunch and everything. And then we went back to the house, and he kept trying to like, oh, I'm going out to the pier. Do you want to come? Do you want to come? And I didn't. And there was a point where days had gone by, because we planned to be there for a whole week. And he literally broke down. I think it was bottled up. Like, he was triggered so many times, and everything was just bottled up. And he literally came to me and was like, I can't do this anymore. And he went into the room, and I went into the room preparing for a PMDD fight. I thought we were going to argue. I'm like, here we go. I can't believe this. Like, all of the things that I was thinking in my mind, like, how, oh my gosh, this relationship's not going to work. I should just leave. Like, how come I can't just have my time? Why can't he just let me have my space? Like, what's the big deal? He's making me feel bad about this. I'm doing everything that I can do at the moment. And I went into the room, and I saw him in bed, and he was crying. And he literally was like, I can't do it anymore. I can't do it anymore. You win. I'm too weak. You broke me. This broke me. I'm too weak. Like, and I was like, what are you talking? Too weak for what? Like, I had no idea what was going on in his mind. And then I was like, all of this because I won't come out to the lake? Like, what's the big deal? And when I sat down with him, he was like, you're not sleeping in the bed with me. I wasn't sleeping in the bed with him. We sleep apart sometimes because he snores. It's not a matter of not wanting to sleep with him, but I have misophonia when I'm in PMDD, which is a sensitivity to noise. So sometimes when I'm in my good days, I'm able to endure the snoring, but absolutely when I'm in PMDD, like, there's no way, because everything already sounds magnified and loud. So I think the lack of connection that we were getting from not sleeping together, because I would like go on the couch and I would just like sleep there, because I would try to sleep next to him, but like his snoring, it was too much for me. So he's like, I came here. You don't sleep with me. You don't want to look at me. Like, I think that's a thing. When I get really avoidant in PMDD, I don't make eye contact. And he's really big on eye contact. Like, he's really like a person of integrity, like, if you're telling me the truth, you look me in the eye. Like, that's like one of his philosophies. And so I didn't want to look him in the eye. I was being really avoidant. We weren't sleeping together. He came there. He was expecting, again, he had this expectation that we were going to come there and be this big, giant, loving family. And all he was getting every single time he turned around was rejection. And there began to be this feeling of hopelessness, because he would start doing all of these nice things, and nothing that he would do would cause my mood to change. And this is what I want to let you know for today's episode, is that you, as a PMDD sufferer, you are the matriarch of your relationship. What I mean by that, if you're good, your partner's going to be good. So a lot of times when you feel like, oh, what's the big deal? Like, I'm off, they can still do their own thing. If your partner is genuinely connected with you in an intimate relationship, they can't just go off and do their own thing. So if you're off, they're off. And so in this moment, he was wanting me to be emotionally connected to him, love him, and all he was feeling was rejection. And even in that, I knew that I wasn't giving him the attention that he wanted, but I never thought that it was that big of an issue until I saw him, and he was in the bed, and tears were running down his face, and he was like, you won, like, I quit, like, I can't do this anymore. And that's when he was like, I thought about killing myself 3 times since we've been here. And I think it was just so overwhelming for him to be in the presence of the woman that he loves the most, the family that he loves the most, and everybody was just rejecting him. And we are what matter to our PMDD partner. So all in my mind, I was like, what is the big deal? Like, I don't understand what, I'm just doing my own thing. You can go do your own thing. My partner was literally like, I didn't get married. I'm not with you to do my own thing. I want to do life with you. And I think sometimes we misunderstand the purpose that our PMDD partner has for being with us. We could all be single, yes, but we're all in relationships. And we're choosing to be in those relationships. And what that means is I'm choosing to be connected to someone because in some way that serves a purpose for me. It makes me feel good. It fills a void that I have. Whatever the reason is for being in a relationship, that is what he was saying. I don't want to do my own thing. I don't want to be single. I want to be with you. And when I was in PMDD at the moment, I genuinely felt like that was what he was asking was more than I could give because I was so used to being in PMDD and just going really internal. And he had never really seen it that up close and personal. And I remember that was one of the first times that I really felt like, oh my gosh, our relationship is over, but not just our relationship. I could see how it was breaking him. I could literally see he was like, being in the car with you, you're so emotionally disconnected. I just wanted to get out. Like, it's almost unbearable to just love a person so much, be so in love, want that attention, affection, validation, appreciation, and not get it. And it be so blatant in our face and there's nothing we can do about it was so painful for him. And so when I was really thinking about my PMDD partner because I am doing my dissertation defense this week. So the way the process works is you have a dissertation proposal, which is the first 3 chapters of your dissertation on my doctorate study. So I'm doing my doctorate in PMDD relationships. And you have to defend your proposal first, which is the first 3 chapters. And then after you defend that, then you can go on to interviews and you can go on to doing all your research and then getting all of your findings. And then you can do your final defense, which is your whole entire dissertation. So that's the process that I'm in this week. And one of the aspects of my dissertation is suicide. So I thought it was so ironic that I was writing more and more and more on suicide within my dissertation. And then I was also dealing with hearing about the news of Twitch, committing suicide and also really having flashbacks of everything that happened with my PMDD partner. And when he told me that I thought about committing suicide 3 times and he was like, this is not healthy for me. I'm out. Like, I can't do this anymore. This was like the first time where he, my PMDD partner, said he wanted to break up with me. Normally it's me wanting to break up with him because I'm dealing with the symptoms. That's my dog, Leo. I'm dealing with the symptoms and I'm normally the one that's like, I don't want to do this because I'm not getting what it is that I need. I want to break up. I want to break up. In this instance, he was like, he wanted to end it. And it was mainly because not only was he not getting what he needed, but he felt like there was no hope. Like it was always going to be like this. And I was so shocked because he had never said that to me before. And I was kind of very worried, I was kind of like, what does this even mean? It had to have hit him hard because I was just in PMDD, but it's almost like I was in that moment and I was trying to pull myself back, but I couldn't. It's like I couldn't. And I've never seen him so weak. I've never seen him so down. And it really just, we recovered from that moment, but it was a very different process. It was a very different process because we had gone so low. When you go down to suicidal ideations, it's so low. It's like kind of like recovering from that. It's not just an argument. It's not just, oh, I don't like you or, oh, I don't like what you're doing. It's kind of like the core of who you are is crushed. There's this feeling of hopelessness, of feeling like there's no way out. It's always going to be like this. I don't belong. I'm a burden. These are all the feelings that he was feeling. He was feeling like he was a burden to me, where he wanted to be the person that I loved and endured the most, which is exactly how I am when I'm in my follicular days. I'm in my good days. He's not a burden, but when he was in that moment, that's what he felt like. He felt like he was a burden. And he was like, well, why would, I'm not here for that. I remember him distinctly saying, I didn't get married for this. And at first I got offended. I'm like, what does he mean he didn't get married for this? Because I thought it was a testament to say, I didn't get married to feel like this. But what he was really saying is, I didn't get married to be a burden. I didn't get married to want to be loved and be so abandoned and neglected and rejected. And I was doing that. I was doing that. I was abandoning him. I was neglecting him. I was rejecting him despite his efforts. And all of that, those three things, abandoning him, neglecting him, and rejecting him, led to his suicidal ideation. And so I want PMDD partners to understand how important it is when our partner, sometimes we can get really annoyed, like, oh, I'm in PMDD, I got all this stuff going on, and my partner's asking for attention. You never know how deeply they need what we have, which is just your attention, your love, your affection, feeling connected. That's what they need. That's why we're here. That's why we're committed in this relationship. And you want your partner, especially when you're in your good days, you want your partner to be that connected to you to where they need those things from you, because that's what constitutes loyalty. That's what constitutes dedication. That's what makes them specifically want to be with you, because you have the thing that they want. You have the things that they want. Despite you having PMDD, you are able to have a relationship that is fulfilling with your PMDD partner, as long as you're giving them the things that they need and they're giving you the things that you need. And this is a lot of what we've worked through in our sessions. And I'm so, my sessions have been going with my private clients have been going so good. I just had a client tell me yesterday that this is her first month that she's gone through only 4 sessions with me, and she has had no suicidal ideation. And she was so shocked at how quickly utilizing the tools really impacted her PMDD relationship, not just her PMDD relationship, but her, how she was while experiencing PMDD. Her PMDD symptoms were lessened because she was utilizing my tools. And it made me feel so grateful and so happy for her, because I could see the ease. I could see when she came on the private session yesterday, how much more at ease she was, how much more she felt like she was in love, how much more she felt the pressure. And that's what I love to release from my private clients, is the pressure of feeling like, oh my gosh, being in my relationship, this is just another thing that I have to do. But a lot of times you're spinning your wheels, because you're doing one or two things. You're either doing the same thing and you're hoping that it doesn't produce an argument or a fight or isolation, and it normally does, or you're just trying different things and they're not working. And if you're not getting PMDD specific relationship help, then you're going to be in that spin cycle. And I tell this to my clients all the time, because they come to me and they say, I had a counselor, I had a coach, I had people in my corner that supported me with my relationship, but they weren't talking about tools specifically for PMDD. And because it wasn't PMDD specific, it didn't work. And that's not saying that any other things that people do are bad. I think there are a lot of quality counselors, therapists, coaches, all of the things. But if they don't know about PMDD, if they don't know specifically what you go through, if they haven't felt it, if they don't know the dynamics of how it switches, even if we explain it, because I'm doing the research myself in my doctorate, a lot of times it's taking me longer in my degree because there's not any prior research on PMDD relationships. Like, we literally did a search because we have to, when we get this point in the program for my doctorate, they have to make sure, like, are there any conflicting, am I reporting anything in my dissertation study that has been previously reported? And we literally saw there's 0 research on PMDD relationships. That means if you go to a counselor, if you go to a coach, if you go to a therapist, they're not trained on this. The DSM-5 was released in 2013, and that's literally when PMDD got added. So if your doctor got their doctorate degree prior to 2013, PMDD was not even in their curriculum. And PMDD in this book, I'm looking at the DSM because I have, the privilege of having it because I'm getting my doctorate in it, and it is hundreds and hundreds of pages. Let me look specifically about how many pages this is. This is with all the diagnosis. So if you go to the doctor, we're at 926 pages. So if you go to the doctor, in order to diagnose you with anything, this is the book that they have to have. They don't even sell this to the general public. This is only for practitioners like myself to be able to diagnose. And this was just added in 2013. And then on 2022, they just had a newer version of it. So when I was doing my dissertation and I was having to reference it, I had to reference the most recent version. And if the most recent version is 2022. So like, if you're dealing with professionals, healthcare professionals, prior to 2013 or any time, in between that, they're not required to know this. Because the DSM is something that it's very expensive, it's very hard to get, and you don't have to get every version of it that comes out. Like I have the 2013 version. There was another version that came out in 2022, and I'm getting that one because I'm referencing it in my dissertation. But your doctor, your therapist, your coach, your counselor, all the things, they're not required to keep getting a upgraded version of the DSM. So if their DSM is before 2013, which a lot of, if you think about the time frame of everything, a lot of the individuals that are out there in the public right now, they've already had their doctorate for that long. So that means that whatever they're using to diagnose you, PMDD is not even in the book. So I'm looking in here and I'm like, okay, what are the common things that, a PMDD sufferer would be diagnosed with? And it's bipolar or major depressive disorder, anxiety, and PMDD is so important and it's so special and it's so unique. And that's why I've dedicated my practice to this, because it is not something that should be taken lightly. And it's also not something that you can deal with on a whim. It's not something where you can just make up tools. I had a coach, a counselor when I was going through couples counseling in 2019. With my partner, and we were going through things, we were moving around. There was a lot of shifts and a lot of issues that we were having. And I was like, oh, maybe we should go to counseling. So we went, and everything that we were going through, it worked when I was in my good days, when I was in my follicular days. When I got into PMDD, it went out the window. I mean, when I say out the window, I mean way out the window, because it just didn't apply. And it wasn't that it wasn't valuable information, but it just didn't address the issue that we were having, which was directly PMDD. So if you've not reached out to me to get help, there are two ways to work with me right now. One way is to book a private PMDD partner session with me. I have those open on my website, www.inlovewithpmdd.com. You go to private sessions, you can book a session with me. And then the second way is the PMDD Partner Support Group. That is the most affordable way to work with me. But you also will get weekly, by joining the group, you will be able to ask me questions directly, and you will get weekly videos sent directly to you. So I listened to you before when you were saying that nobody has time to come on live. And I get that, because even when I was thinking about doing it, I was like, well, most of my clients are in different countries, in different time zones. I'm in California, USA right now. But I also travel a lot with work. So I'm all over the place. And so I'm like, what is going to be a time that everyone would be able to come on? When you become a part of the Pmdd Partner Support Group, what you're going to get is weekly videos delivered directly to you on different Pmdd topics. They're going to be more tool-based. They're going to be tools with exercises that you can do on your own. And that's the difference between my podcast and the support group, is that with the support group, I'm actually going to be doing exercises with you that you can genuinely do for your specific Pmdd relationship. So this is the best way to customize my tools. I'm giving you access to my tools every single week. All you have to do is go to my website, www.inlovewithpmdd.com, and you can join to be part of the Pmdd Partner Support Group. And that is the best way to get direct access with me without doing private sessions. So those are the two ways that you can work with me. I want to let you know, checking in with your Pmdd partner on a daily basis is so important, because your partner can be good one day and then the next day they're not, right? Scientifically, if you meditate on a thought for 30 seconds, it becomes an emotion. And the emotion takes way longer, which means it's a feeling, takes way longer to get rid of than the actual thought. But a lot of times when we have those intrusive thoughts, it's not just us that suffer with Pmdd that have the intrusive thoughts. Our partners have it too. I know my partner has it. Let me tell you, last month, my partner had it. We were in Vegas and he was like painting this picture of me because of these thoughts that he had in his head, these intrusive thoughts. He was like, I thought you were controlling. I thought you were this. I thought you were that. Now, my partner is normally a person that really likes structure, really likes things to go on. He doesn't like idle time. So he's always like, what are we doing, babe? What are we doing? What are we doing? And so I feel this need to always have a plan to give him of like, hey, this is what our day is looking like. This is what we're doing, because it makes him feel more comfortable. He's more at ease. He's a Marine, right? He's been a Marine for 21 years, going on 22. Like, I have to know your audience, know your partner. And so I always make sure I have things for him to do. But sometimes when you're in conflict, that even the things that your partner love about you, which is he loves that I always have something going on. I'm very spontaneous. I'm always planning things. It's never going to be boring. He loves that. But when we were arguing and we were disagreeing, that same thing that he loved about me turned into, she's controlling. She's trying to make me do all these things. Whereas if I told him, you know, hey, you can do whatever you want, he would be lost. He'd be like, no, but what are we doing? You know what I mean? So it's kind of like your partner can have these intrusive thoughts and begin to see you in a different light because of that. And that can create those depressing, hopeless thoughts, because you start to think it's always going to be like this. They're never going to understand me. There's so much finality to it. And that's when we really get into those suicidal ideations. And so I want you to make sure that you're checking in with your partner, really seeing how they are doing, how they are really doing. Not how you perceive that they're doing, not how you expect that they're doing, but just how are they really doing? Because I know my partner told me, I didn't think I could tell you what was going on with me when I was in when you were in Pmdd, because I heard everything that you were telling me and I just felt like it was too much. And because they felt like it was too much, they were kind of like, oh, I don't want to do it. I'm just going to keep it to myself. But your partner is not supposed to keep it to themselves. And so this episode is all about checking in with your partner, not getting to the point of where your partner can have these suicidal ideations. So the suicidal ideations are not just about you and how you're managing Pmdd. It's also about your Pmdd partner, because in turn, your Pmdd partner will start checking in with you and how you're doing when you're in Pmdd. And I want you to remember the two main things that are linked towards suicidal ideations are hopelessness, and that is really big within Pmdd because there's no cure. So hopelessness is almost like a given. And then the other one is the sense of not belonging, not being able to connect. And that's what happened with my partner. He felt hopeless because he was doing all these things and he wasn't getting the attention, the affection, the love that he was wanting, needing. And then also the thwartedness, belongingness, which is mean. It basically means not feeling like you don't belong, feeling like you're not connected to your partner. And if you know that you're doing any actions that are making your partner feel that way, stop. If your partner is doing any of those things, stop. Tell them to stop, because those are what lead to suicidal ideations. So if you know that this is something that you're really struggling with in your PMDD relationship, where you're really just like, sometimes I really get so hopeless and I'm tired and I'm frustrated with going month after month after month, going through the same thing, reach out to me. I am on Instagram at In Love with PMDD. Now I feel like I used to say 2 to 3 hours a day. It's like 4 hours a day. I'm answering questions directly. I'm connecting with you. Reach out to me. We can book a session and specifically talk about what's going on in your PMDD relationship, and I can give you tools. And they're very practical tools that you can use, and you can begin to see a difference immediately. Like I told you with my private client, she literally saw results within 4 sessions with me, 4 weeks, 1 month. And she was deep in PMDD. She was ready to go. And all of a sudden she's not. And not only that, she's thriving. She's feeling more supported. She's feeling more loved. And it's a sense of peace when you actually know that you know what to do. Because that was my biggest thing early in my journey. It was like, I just don't know what to do. If someone just told me what to do, I would probably do it, because I'm at that point right now where I'm so frustrated. But there was no one there to tell me what to do. So if you need help, reach out to me. We can work together. And I want you to, if you have not checked on your partner today, go check on your PMDD partner. Let them check up on you. Make sure you're connected. Make sure that you're letting each other know that you love them, and really finding out how they are doing, not surface level, finding out how they're genuinely doing, their mindset. We got that.
I hope this PMDD episode helped you and your partner in your struggles within your relationship. And if this is something that you know that you need help with and you need further support, individualized support, make sure you're going to inlovewithpmdd.com and you're getting those private sessions to really work through what you're going through in your relationship, specifically in regards to PMDD. And also, I want you to leave a 5-star written review on Apple Podcasts. What this does is it helps other PMDD sufferers and partners find this show that can help them get these free PMDD relationship tools. I remember what it felt like to not know that there were tools out there specifically for PMDD relationships. So I want to make sure that you are sharing these tools with others, share them on your social media, share them with people that you know that are also struggling in their PMDD relationships. Until next episode, this is Dr. Rose, your PMDD relationship psychotraumatologist. One more thing, I almost forgot. I now have the Fresh Start PMDD Partners Workbook. What this workbook can do is, if you've had past traumatic experiences with your partner, past fights, past arguments, and they keep coming up every single month in PMDD, I created a Fresh Start Workbook so that you can deal with all of the traumatic experiences that have happened in the past in PMDD rage and all of these things, so you can stop going through the same cycle again and again and again. So get that workbook. It comes with a video episode of the actual podcast that I recorded on getting a fresh start in your PMDD relationship, so you're not continuing the same cycle again and again and again. So make sure that you get that workbook. And if you need those individualized counseling sessions, you know where to go, inlovewithpmdd.com. Until next time, we got this. Love you.